Did did I just get did my seltzer water get spiked or something? I usually don't associate weird pseudo druggy rambling visual aesthetic weird scenes weird with Star Wars, but here we are. So they get stuck on this planet. I'm still not sure why. I mean, I've just watched the episode and I'm still not 100% sure how they get stuck on this desert planet because they were in hyperspace and then there was a warning about ice comets. Then they came out of hyperspace in the ice comets. Then they got hit by the ice comets. They were in hyperspace and the ice comets were very close to a planet too. So, huh? None of that makes sense. In fact, in my actual notes here, I wrote, the entire comet sequence is so ridiculous, I barely feel qualified to dissect it. And it's true. Although I do have to give special mention to the fact that the guy, I can't remember his name, Toadface, is basically standing up on the dash right up against the windshield when they're about to crash. And even says, we're about to crash! That might be the physically worst possible place to be in the place of a crash that's still on the inside of a ship. And then the map reader looks at the map data they have and is like, well, I can't do anything with this. R2 has scanners, right? I mean, they can just detect the normal area. You'd think his actual expertise, this whole thing he's good at, would finally be useful. But no, instead he just is like, whatever. I do want to give a quick piece of praise to the overall visual design. As much as I don't care for it, it is very well done. Apparently there's something with the, what's it called? I was just looking this up. The regolith. There's something with the regolith of the terrain that makes it so that it literally doesn't, there's no proper shading being cast, so you can't quite see tracks in the normal way. And the lighting is very strange and ambient, despite the fact that there's no actual sun, which is also extremely strange. But I'm willing to forgive that one. Light reflecting off of the giant comet field of ice in orbit would kind of lead to that kind of a thing. So sure, whatever. But what the hell? And then there's this bit where he says, droids don't get training, you get programming. Actually, droids can and do get training. Obviously, they get programming. But as I've talked about a few trillion times, they get something that I personally call droid effect, which is basically training. Training through experience, but still. Then, of course, I'm not like you droids. I can act outside my programming. Except plenty of droids have the ability to act outside their programming. So, I know that he's supposed to be biased against droids, it's just, really? I sometimes wonder if the bias against droids, which has always been a thing in Star Wars, is a bit more right now than usual because of the Clone Wars. Anywho, probably the worst part is when he has to say, I can't believe I have to justify my existence to a droid. And I point that out because the way he says it, good credit to the voice actor, by the way, but the way he says it makes it clear that to him what's really bothering him is he is a living being and therefore intrinsically has intrinsic value. Whereas by the nature of his statement, droids do not. They're just property after all. Anywho, what the hell's with the tone of this episode? Like, it's got bumbling, cartoony music during hallucinations and a descent into despair, a lighthearted take on death repeatedly, and a literal descent into lunacy and madness, combined with another one of those 1 in a million chances of the creatures all stampeding to lead them towards water. Where the hell does water come from on this planet anyways? Like Tatooine, they at least had a bit of a vague explanation for how a desert planet could have water. What do they do here? I had a horrible thought while I was looking at this episode. I have a concept. I don't have a term for it, but it's the quiet death. You know, there's something being eaten by a T-Rex is certainly horrible, but imagine for a moment that you're stuck on an island which is sufficiently high up in the air that no one can reach you and there's no way down other than just falling and dying. So you can choose to commit suicide or you can slowly starve and dehydrate to death, in what is effectively perfect safety. Imagine for a moment that they saw that stampede, and it's about a mile that way, or a click that way if you prefer. Now, they can't move very quickly, especially not Frogface, because he's small and severely dehydrated. And that stampede, that herd, is moving at quite a clip. So there's a pretty good chance that they couldn't get the click over, we'll say click because that makes it even more horrible, in time to find them. And they're moving so quickly that if they're sufficiently far enough away, their destination, they will eventually lose them. And there's no tracks for them to follow. Wouldn't that just be horrible? But not quite as horrible as the episode. I don't like this episode. I'm sorry. And the next episode, we start talking about slavery and clones, so that'll be great. Whatever. I'll see you guys next time.